I'll just say. Good
morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm going to call the board to order. The board meeting of the North Carolina Board of Nursing will now convene. This meeting is being recorded for record purposes. In accordance with the State Ethics Act and the Code of Conduct for members of the North Carolina Board of Nursing, it is the duty of every member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before today? If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from any undue participation in that particular matter. No. Okay. So welcome, board members, and welcome to our guests who are here today with us and virtually. The board's mission, vision, and values drive our work as board and serve as a reminder to us as we carry out our business. The mission, vision, and values are posted on the board's website for reference. Are there any announcements at this time? Okay. Are there any additions or modifications or reordering requested at this time to the agenda? Okay. Do I have a motion regarding adoption of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Diane has made the motion to adopt the consent agenda. Do I have a second? Andrea has second. Okay, I'll call for a vote now. Just raise your hand in favor. Throw your hands like. Great, thank you. Okay. So adoption of the meeting agenda. Do I have a motion regarding adoption of the meeting agenda? So moved. Thank you, Sara. Do I have a second? Second. I'll call for a vote now just by show of hands. Unanimous. Okay. Okay, so we're at the open comment period. Do we have any for open comment? Okay. Okay, the purpose of the open comment period is to provide the public an opportunity to share their concerns, offer views, and present questions regarding issues that impact nursing and the nursing regulation. We are prohibited from discussing specific cases which are either pending or under investigation by the board, staff, or other administrative agencies regarding the conduct or failure to act in a manner that could possibly be a violation of the Nursing Practice Act. Accordingly, we ask that no one ask to discuss the case of licensee that is currently under investigation, scheduled for hearing, or may come under consideration by the board, as doing so may tend to jeopardize the licensee's ability to have a fair and impartial hearing before the board as provided for the required by law. Individuals will have 5 minutes each to address the board. Any written statements or material related to your presentation may be left with the administrative coordinator for distribution to board members. So I would like to call Annette Russo to speak.
Morning, everybody. Is this where I should be?
You can have a seat.
Okay. I'll stand so people can hear me better. Okay. My name's Annette Russo. I'm a registered nurse. I've worked and lived in 15 states. And just my background, my last position was with Los Alamos National Lab, and I was a COVID nurse. And what the lab was doing, which most of you know, it's a government entity, energy company, and they have a lot of scientists, researchers, and I found over the months I was with them what the researchers, scientists said is not in terms of COVID treatment and treat day 1, day 2. These are the treatments. What they were scientists stating is not what the government energy company was doing. They were following the government. And what, as a nurse for 30+ years, I've been seeing for a couple years now, what the government is doing does not line up with good medicine. And at the end of last year, I came across some scientists, physicians giving information that you will not hear on media. And I put all my projects, I'm retired nurse as of last year, but I had a lot of projects and I put it all aside and I sat for months to listen to these researchers, scientists. I'm going to share a few websites and links that all of you can go to. You can listen for yourself. I'm not going to tell you anything. It's up to you as professionals to find out your own information, make your own judgment. And I'm going to read just a few lines from a physician who created the mRNA technology for vaccines. The first website is FlemingMethod.com, FlemingMethod.com. He's a PhD, MD, JD, which I'm sure most of you know what that means. He's a smart man. Everything on his website, if you want to know anything about COVID vaccines, it's on his website. And he's been researching this for a year, since this has come out. The other one is, you've all heard of FDA.gov. That's a government website. It has FAERS data, FAERS, FDA Adverse Event Reporting System. That's what is reported. It is states that only 1% of adverse reactions are reported to the government. This is not a .com. This is a GOV. And a lot of information I get is from the Epoch Times, EPOCH. The Epoch Times, it's on, you can get it on your email. You can also get a newspaper, which is about $80 every 6 months. It's kind of expensive, but it has a lot of true information. You've heard in the past few days, FDA approved vaccines for children 5 to 11. This just came out. Higher COVID-19 infection rates among vaccinated children than unvaccinated, CDC shows. The other recent May 16th article, the Epoch Times, a researcher, we made a big mistake on COVID-19 vaccines. I'm going to skip now because I have 1 to 2 minutes. I'm just going to make a few statements from Dr. Robert Malone. He is a resident doctor, he's an MD. And he's the one who created the mRNA vaccine technology. He says, and I'm just going to skip around because this is long. Before you inject your child, a decision that is irreversible, I want to let you know the scientific facts about this genetic vaccine. There are 3 issues. The first is that a viral gene will be injected into your children's cells. The gene forces your child's body to make toxic spike proteins, which cause permanent damage in children's critical organs, including brain, nervous system, heart, blood vessels, produces blood clots. Their reproductive system is injured. This vaccine can trigger fundamental changes to their immune system. The most alarming point is that once these damages occur, they are irreparable. You cannot fix the lesions in their brain. You cannot repair the hard tissue scarring. You cannot repair genetically reset immune system. I hope you have all heard about all the myocarditis, all the teenagers have been having. And if you haven't, that's where I'm saying the mainstream media is not exposing this. And please go to FDA, look at the FAERS report. And the reason I'm bringing this to the boards is that you're a prestigious organization that the governments recognize. And a lot of you were appointed by the governors. And so they respect you. And if anyone has influence, I really believe the nursing boards could, you know how women are. You know
Thank
how
you,
we are
Annette.
as
Your
professionals. We
time is
speak
up.
out.
Thank you
And-
so much. Your time is up. I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me come.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board before conclusion of open comment? Okay, this concludes the open comment period. Now I would like to recognize our Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Crystal Tillman.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Milner. It's so exciting, isn't it? This is our first time in over 2 years to be back together as a full board in person. And terrible COVID has, yes, canceled a lot of things for us. But it feels great to be back together again. Welcome. It's especially exciting because we have our previous CEO, Julie George, and her husband, Dr. Tom Owens, and her daughters. So welcome, and welcome to all our visitors and previous board members. So it's very exciting. So with COVID, we want to do something to recognize Julie for all your service and your great leadership through the many years here at the board. And so we asked Representative Gail Adcock if she would come and present an award for you, Julie. And so we're fortunate to have her here. And Representative Adcock is one of 4 nurses in the General Assembly. She is our first and only nurse practitioner, very bipartisan, crosses the aisle many times.
Live in the aisle.
So thank you, Representative Adcock, and I will turn it over to you.
Wow, I was hopeful I'd get a podium I could see over. General Assembly, and this is the truth. I have one of these collapsible boxes you stand on, and I'm instantly 5'8". Something God managed to do, Amazon.com helped me do. So anyway, what a thrill to be here with all of you on this great day and to see a room full of a lot of people that I know, but a room full of people I have a lot in common with. So I want to thank Crystal and the board for inviting me to be here and be part of this wonderful occasion. So I just want to say I'm 4 for 4. So I have nominated or been part of the nomination process for 4 individuals to receive one of the most prestigious awards, and if not the most prestigious award that our governor can award, and it is called the Order of the Longleaf Pine. So I want to tell you a couple of things, and I'm going to shut up and bring Julie up here. So among the honors and awards that the governor of North Carolina can bestow, none actually is of higher profile or held in higher esteem than the Order of the Longleaf Pine. Since its creation in 1963, it has been presented to honor individuals with a proven record of service to the citizens of our state. And I don't think anybody can meet that criteria any more than our Julie. Today, Julie is going to join a real who's who of North Carolina that includes many names we're all going to recognize. I just picked some at random because, oh my gosh, Julie, you're running with what we call the big dogs now. Maya Angelou, Richard Petty, and Dale Earnhardt for all you NASCAR people. All you educators in the room, Bill Friday. For all of us in the faith community, Billy Graham. Andy Griffith, come on. Michael Jordan, Dean Smith, Bob Timberlake, and Doc Watson, for those of us who like bluegrass. When I was asked by Tom, actually, to be one of the many people who supported Julie in this award, I want to read you just a little bit of my nomination letter. For more than 4 decades as a North Carolinian, Julie George made a permanent mark in the safe delivery of nursing care, distinguished herself as an outstanding nursing leader in the area of nursing regulation, and served as an exemplary national and international ambassador for our state. She exemplifies the qualities reflected in the Order of the Longleaf Pine, and I support her nomination without hesitation. And I was thrilled when Tom let me know that she, of course, had been selected. I don't know how many of you've ever done the oath or the declaration for the Order of the Longleaf Pine, but I'm going to read it to you because it's really pretty short. And I just don't think that it could be more appropriate for anybody than Julie. So here it is. Here's to the land of the longleaf pine, the summer land where the sun doth shine, where the weak grows strong and the strong grow great. Here's to down home, the old North State. Now, when you think about what Julie did in her role, first here as a consultant and then as our CEO, if there has ever been a role and ever been a person who fulfilled that role more than Julie to make the weak grow strong and the strong grow great, I don't know who it is. And I give you Julie George. Oh.
Well, thank you all so much. You can't imagine what a pleasure this is for me, and really what an honor to receive this award. I think everyone who was involved in that, and I'm a little bit surprised that Gail did not tell the story. She always tells the story on me that she was on the search committee when they hired me as CEO. And as part of their questions, one of the things they would ask the applicants is, how do you handle stress? And, you know, everybody searches for all these correct answers. And I said, stress? Well, as any good Southern woman, I just take to my bed. And she says, never forgotten that. And so me by telling that. So I won't take to my bed today. But I would like to thank a lot of the people that really made this possible. My husband, Thomas, thank you. And both my daughters are here, Casey and Kelly. And also Pam Edwards, who was my first chair. And we missed, but Dan Hudgens, a former board member, when I was here as CEO, and his wife, the Honorable Ann McCown. So I thank all of y'all for taking the time and for being here. But I would say to you that I could have never existed, persevered, or excelled in any of this work in regulation if I had not had an incredibly supportive family, incredibly supportive board members through the years, and an immensely talented staff here. I think as board members, you all probably know you got the cream of the crop here, and you really do. I can't thank enough everybody who helped to make me successful, and I'm very proud of what our board has accomplished. We really have been a leader in moving nursing regulation toward a quote just culture where we don't punish people for honest mistakes. And that has not only permeated, I would say, things here, both for you board members at a licensure level, for educators as they look at students and eras, and something that we've been able to see flourish at a national and an international level. So I'm very proud of that, but I just consider it probably one of the highlights of my 49-year nursing career, and to have been able to be here and just be part of this vehicle, which is a wonderful, wonderful organization. And I can truly appreciate the longleaf pine as I can a lot of other trees, which I'm unable to identify. Because I have retired, as many of you know, to a life at a horse farm. So Tom and I bought a horse farm, as would be probably an unwise thing to do. And in retrospect, we've said if we knew then what we know now, we're not so sure we would have made such a rash decision, but we plunged right in. And so I'm on 26 acres out in Orange County with 4 horses and 3 cats and 2 dogs and a lot of trees. So I'll be especially proud of this, and I will be first to try to identify my longleaf pine when I get home. But thank you all. This is truly delightful. Thank you, Crystal, for having this time, and thank you, board members and staff. Love all of you, and you're great. Thanks.
We're going to resume the board meeting now, and Dr. Crystal Tillman is going to finish her update.
Well, wasn't that a nice celebration to celebrate Julie George, our previous chair, and wish her well, very deserving. But like I said earlier, it's just a celebration for all of us to be back. Also, we welcome back Anna Choi. She is coming back to us for all of our board meetings and will certainly be our liaison. Anna has served the past 8 years on Rules Review Commission, so she has this vast knowledge of rulemaking. So, like I said, Anna has been with the board for many years, and Jack Nichols was before that was served our board. So we just welcome you back, Anna. And normally I do not do a PowerPoint presentation, but there's just some visuals that I just felt like you needed to see today. And I thought, you know, this might be a good way of disseminating the information. So I'd like to start off with welcome to our newest employee, Matt Quick. Matt, there he is. As you can see, Matt is in the IT world, so he's back with Brad and Travis, but you're already hitting the ground running, taking photos, and so we appreciate that. That is great. So Matthew will be the business systems coordinator in the IT department, and he, like I said, just started May 2nd. He has a bachelor's degree in communication and media concentration from NC State. So we are looking forward to the videos and the productions that you can create. We're looking forward to that. So welcome aboard. And now Brad is going to show us a video. Hi, Catherine. We see you up there. Because you, in this video, you will recognize 3 of our board staff. This is so exciting because this was the first inaugural class. And we're very proud that we had 3 board staff. So it's the International Center for Regulatory Scholarship. This is open to board members, board staff, especially if you've got several years to stay on the board. It's something I would highly suggest to enroll in the courses. There's an annual meeting that you can attend, but it's really focused on leadership and regulatory experiences. So Doctors Catherine Moore, Jennifer Lewis, and Terry Ward got their award last month in Washington, D.C. So I was able to get some photos that were made by National Council. And Catherine Moore has been promoted to the position of Chief Legislative and Quality Officer effective April 1st. In addition to Catherine's functions as legislative liaison for the board, she will implement and manage our quality assurance program. Catherine is actually, I think she just flew back from California. She was at the American Society for Quality World Conference on Quality Improvement to enhance her quality knowledge. So Catherine did not want to miss giving you all a legislative update. So she actually pre-recorded it so you all could watch it. And she is going to be on here, which I saw her as well. And to Dr. Jennifer Lewis, Director of Education, she also received her certificate as well. And Education Consultant, Dr. Terry Ward. So congratulations to all 3 of you. What an honor, and great to be in that first inaugural class as well. So. You know, you can talk about when someone gets an award, but when you have a photo to show, it's just, and it looks like a grand hotel. It looks like you all had a fantastic time. So one thing that I wanted to talk about was here we go. North Carolina NurseCast of the dissemination of information. It is going very well, and we're very proud of the dissemination of the NurseCast thus far. So I just wanted to show you, I know that's kind of hard to see as a slide, but the highlighted shows that 665,000 links have been forwarded on the North Carolina NurseCast, or that people have viewed it more than once. That's incredible. And it's only been out a couple months. So just so proud of that. And I'm really proud of this. You know, we knew it would be in the US, Canada, and then certainly the UK. But look at all the other countries: Italy, India, Japan, Australia, China, Pakistan, Kenya, Nigeria. Great. That is just going around the world. So I hope you all are very excited about that, because like I said, it is a new tool, and it's something that other boards of nursing are looking at. They're already contacting SHEP Center saying, wow, we would like to be able to use that as well. Our next project is going to be doing the same model, but doing it with the APRNs. So looking at the 4 roles, because remember, this just addressed the RNs and LPNs. So that will be exciting to see the APRNs and where they are, where they stay, and if they move out of state. So I'd like to talk a little bit about, we have some open positions on the board. So we have 3 positions open. We have 2 candidates that have applied for the ADN Diploma Nurse Educator. We have 13 who have applied for the staff nurse position, and 2 for the LPN position. And then Arlene is running for a second term as well for the LPN. Voting starts July 1st and goes through August 15th. And, you know, we're always trying to get nurses to vote. You know, we're the only state in which we're able to vote for our licensed nurses. So encourage your friends to vote. And we want to get above that 3 to 4%, because that is such a small percentage. You know, as a board, you should be proud because we do so much work with National Council, state boards and nursing, but they actually come to us and say, we've got the, like Julie said, we have the cream of the crop with our board staff. And they actually come to us and they say, hey, we're putting on the National Council IT Operations Conference. We would love to have some of your speakers present. So as this just was in May, we had Tony Graham, Angela Ellis, and Brad Gibson that actually presented at the IT conference. So congratulations, and I hear you all did an excellent job. You know, I always like to throw staff a curveball. So, you know, we just had all these photos made and it's like, okay. And staff were like, why do we need to do the photos? Just like the board members. And it's like, no, because, you know, you need to have photos made as well. So here's why. So Tony Graham is running for a seat for the board of directors at National Council. And they do 2-year terms. Tony has interviewed, he has been vetted, and he is going to be on the slate of candidates. And that will be in the annual delegate assembly meeting in August in Chicago. And let's see, at that time, Arlene, you will be the chair, and then I will be with you. So Tony, I can assure you, you'll get Arlene and my vote. So we look forward to you representing us well. Also wanted to talk to you a little bit about Director of Investigations, Andy Mathis. I know you all see her for the investigations, but it's also important to know that what people do outside the board to keep the regulatory and nursing education going. Angie was part of the initial committee that actually started the investigator training back in 2018. And they have invited her back every year to teach the investigator training for investigative nurse regulators all over the US. So that's a lot put out. So Angie really focuses on diversion, scope of practice, and of course the nurse licensure compact. And Angie just finished teaching the investigative training. So thank you for your expertise and sharing it with certainly regulators all over the US. Dr. Melanie Mabry, who is our APRN consultant. National Council has reached out to her and said, hey, we would love for you to present at the Discipline Case Management Conference. So she will be doing that. Also, Melanie will be presenting at the American Association of Nurse Practitioners in June, which is a national committee. So we're very proud of that. And anytime we can get out and disseminate information, we try. Last week was Nurses Week. Very exciting week for nurses. And LaDonna invited me to speak for the VA, and so I did that and enjoyed it very much. But each year we develop materials, and Sara and her group develop what we call the placemats that we share with the legislators. And it's also, we promote it on social media. So we kind of gave it a facelift, shall we say, and added fresh colors and all, and I think it looks very nice. Reaching out on social media platforms is huge these days. So we know that the NGN, the exam, will be coming in April 2023. We feel like that there may be some programs that are not quite prepared. So we said, what can we do in conjunction with AHEC? And so we got together in conjunction. We said, yes, we will donate some money because we want to bring in a really good speaker and to educate our program directors and nursing faculty. And so we had Dr. Hensel come in and present. And I love it sometimes when I go through Facebook and all of a sudden something will just pop out. And I'm like, hey, yeah, I know those beautiful ladies. So we are spotlighting the different departments. And as you can see here, we started with education. And we've got Doctors Lewis and Ward, and then of course Tanya. I don't know if she's here today, but I guess you will say she helps keep the department running, doesn't she? But I think it's nice for us to be able to highlight the great work that board staff do. Okay. And so last week, Dr. Griffin and Stacy Thompson, they went to the Metrolina in the Charlotte area. And it was a Metrolina Council of Nursing Organizations. And as you can see, they had a display, they gave out Board of Nursing materials, but it's really important for us to be present because sometimes people think about the Board of Nursing as if we only do discipline. And we want to also promote all the other great things that we do, approved nursing programs, practice, and licensure. So it gives us an opportunity to promote the board. And I hope we're able to do more of this in the future, especially now that the pandemic has calmed down. I know Sara said people would kind of first go by the booth and then say, oh, Board of Nursing, I don't, you know, and I think that mine, you know, mindset of, oh no, and Sara would come talk to me. And she would say, no, we have all this other that we do at the board. And so I think it was very helpful, and certainly we'll start doing more of that in the future. Licensure, Tony's area. So our criminal background checks, or CBCs, we're back up to normal of 1 to 2 weeks of submission. We're getting the CBCs back, although we're happy for that. There's no longer a delayed. You know, we talk about nurse cast, the nursing shortage, but our endorsements over the past 3 months, and then this past April, went up 13%. And I tell you, people are coming to North Carolina. It's a very attractive state. We're grateful for this percentage that's certainly coming in. And if you look at the last 9 months compared with last year, we went up 15% for endorsements. So great numbers. Renewals are up 3% over the same time last year. So that tells us that nurses are renewing their license. I know we've heard so much about nursing burnout from the pandemic, but we're happy to see that renewals are staying where they should be. Couple things and Sarah's department as well, and compliance program. Allison Bailey, Meredith Paris, and Sara did some absolutely great work on reviewing the evidence and looking at recovery programs. You know, we typically just speak about AA, but there's so many more programs out there. And so we went through Smart Recovery, Dharma, and said, okay, what would we accept for the board, because maybe AA or NA doesn't fit everyone. So we have vetted some programs. So we have now broadened the recovery programs that nurses in recovery can attend. We also renamed the programs. I just thought alternative program for chemical dependency. It's always been, seemed to me, rather harsh, or the chemical dependency discipline program. So we took a survey of staff and we said, come up with some ideas, and great ideas. And we ended on, for the AP program, it's still going to be AP. So alternative program for nurses in recovery. We thought it important to always put the person first, the nurse who happens to be in recovery. Same thing for the discipline program for nurses in recovery. So that's now, instead of being that CDDP, it's now going to be DP. So it's easy for us to remember. We hope they are successful in AP before they have to go to DP. So that's be an easier way to remember it. So thank you all for that great work, because they really went through a lot of research articles, websites, looking at other boards. So did a great job, and I love our new names for the programs. We have revised the live virtual presentation for the prevention of documentation and medication errors. And when we do these presentations, we'd like to have at least 25 nurses. And we present for free, of course. We do not charge. So at first, people did not want to do webinars. But now, since the pandemic, people are like, hey, can we do, a live webinar? And Joyce or Stacy can now be on and respond to questions as they come up. So glad to see that trend. And, that keeps you from going all over the western part of the state or eastern part. Certainly, we'll certainly do that. But I think people are very much warmed up to the virtual presentation. So that's good. And in a little bit, Joyce is going to talk to you as Director of Practice about some education, some practice resources. As part of my CEO update, I always want to be sure that you have some kind of education session and just know the resources that we do have. So we kicked off our DEI. It's now one of our initiatives. We kicked off our first Lunch and Learn. We had Dr. Bridget Carter from Duke University School of Nursing presented on April 21st. Next scheduled presentation is going to be with Nicole Williams, who is the Senior Manager of Examiners with National Council, and that will be virtually on July 18th. And then I heard a speaker at FARB a couple months ago who was fantastic, Brian Francis, who's the former Executive Director of Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. And he's going to present to us on August 22nd. So remember, this is for board members, board staff, lunch and learn. If you're close by and you would like to come in person, I know with Dr. Carter, we had LaDonna was here and Marie. And so certainly if you're in the area, if not, if you can tune in virtually, you can certainly watch as well. And, I think as we go through DEI, Dr. Carter brought up some really good things, really that in our country, there is so much tension right now and, politics, issues that certainly has nothing to do with nursing regulation, but it impacts all our lives. So, she was really good about talking that we're all on this journey together. And we're going to move forward and to give ourselves grace and show each other compassion and respect for each other as we move forward. The SAVE Act, I know that certainly Catherine will talk to you more, and I don't want to steal her thunder. But as you can see, the SAVE Act is Senate Bill 249, House Bill 277. The coalition is getting stronger and stronger. Now you can see Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina has been added and getting more movement than we've ever had before. So the SAVE Act is full practice authority for advanced practice RNs. And so our short session started yesterday. So it's still on the table, still being discussed. And here at the board, we're being proactive. We're getting ready as if it may pass in the short session. So thank you to Melanie and Catherine Moore, and I have been working together to come up with our proposed rules. We want to be poised and ready. So if it does pass, we've got our, to go through. And now that we've got Anna, you're going to tell us what we need to do to get it through Rules Review Commission. So that will be, that will be great having your expertise. Once the three of us go through and get proposed, then we're going to broaden it and we're going to bring in Sara and Tony from licensure. We'll bring in our attorneys and let them look at it. And also some staff, Jennifer, Joyce, would look at it from practice and education. So excited about that. And like I said, it doesn't go through in the short session. We are prepared for the long session next year for when it does pass. But in talking with Representative Adcock, and she's very hopeful. Also, Tina Gordon, the CEO at NCNA, is our advocacy. She's very hopeful as well. I did listen to a legislative update that Tina Gordon gave this past week. I don't know if any of you listened to it. It was excellent. But she really talked about the board and how supportive the Board of Nursing has been. And she also talked a lot about just culture and how important it is in our state. And just gave the board a lot of kudos of us being really the leader in just culture. So appreciated her nice comments. School nurses. Back in the day when I got out of nursing school, you had to be a BSN. You could not be an ADN or diploma nurse. You had to be a BSN. Well, the tide changed. And now associate degree and diploma nurses can be in public health and can be school nurses. Now, LPNs can now be school nurses in North Carolina. So I think that is great. We need the support for school nurses and certainly for our communities. So certainly glad to see that change. Our nurse aides, medical office assistants, there's right now such a high demand for nurse aides. And of course, the problem is pay. If you can make $15 an hour in fast food and you're making less than that as a nurse aide, what's the incentive to get you? Because it's hard work. So now there is a temporary nurse aide 1 in long-term care. You can have no healthcare experience. You come in and train as an NA1, and you have up to 4 months to complete your NA1 training and get listed on the DHSR registry as an NA1. We're also seeing medical office assistants, the MOAs, are beginning to go into acute care as well due to the nursing shortages. And just wanted to talk to you a little bit about just culture. I know Joyce, you'll be talking more about it, but we are really doing a campaign here at the board to really disseminate information about just culture. So if you go to our website, as soon as you pull it up, you're going to see the first, I believe, rotating, I believe Brad calls it a commercial. What is it? Hero. Okay. So anyways, the first one that pops up is just culture. And so we put it out there front and center. So nurses can go to it, click learn more, and it immediately takes them to our just culture. What is it? You can watch videos. So we're really proud of that, especially what's happened in the media lately. So we talk about, the complaint evaluation tool for nurses in practice, and also the SPEAK, student practice event evaluation tool for education. We are seeing more just culture requests as well for consultations. And hitting social media everywhere. This is one from Facebook talking about the Board of Nurses has been a leader in applying just culture in nursing regulation. And once again, nurses can click on here and it will take them straight to the Just Culture website. I know you've all heard about Nurse Vault, and our neighbor next door in Tennessee, she's a nurse at Vanderbilt, was convicted of 2 felonies for the fatal drug era. So certainly nurses, we all became paranoid, right? Of saying, oh no, every time we make a mistake, are we going to be criminalized? And so recently they granted her judicial diversion, which means her conviction will be expunged if she completes a 3-year probation, and she will not be required to spend any time in prison. So, we feel like we're making progress in just culture. We want nurses to report their errors because a lot of times it's system errors. And if they report them, then we can learn from them and move forward. So, when you see something like this in the media, you feel like, oh no, we're taking a step back with just culture. So that's why we've really been out there promoting and letting nurses know that in North Carolina, we certainly support a nurse friendly just culture. And, we have developed our tools. This is a complaint evaluation tool and the Speed for Education. People are calling us all the time wanting to say, can we use your tools in our hospital systems? This past month, let's see, we've had Parkland Health System in Dallas, Texas. We've had University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center also reached out to use it. The Speak tool, we have Shabbat, I don't know if it's Shabbat or Chabot College Nursing in Haywood, California. So we're certainly happy for folks to use our tools as long as they give the North Carolina Board of Recognition. So as part of my CEO update, Catherine is going to give her pre-recorded legislative update. Then Sara is going to start giving a strategic plan update. And then as our education part, we are going to have Joyce Winstead give us a practice resources update. So I will turn it over to Brad, who will show the recording of Catherine.
Good morning. Documents related to my verbal legislative report this morning are noted under agenda item M9 in your meeting packet. Now, to begin, the legislative short session, which occurs in even number years, began May 18th, 2022. So by the time you hear this recording, it will have started yesterday. However, voting sessions are not scheduled to begin until the week of May 25th. I'm going to focus my verbal comments today on recent activities that have occurred in the 2 legislative committees noted in your written report, activities that we are watching for during the short session, and Board of Nursing staff activities related to HR 2471 that was signed into law by President Biden on March 15th. And that federal legislation addressed issues related to the shortage of sane nurses in the country. The written report in your packet provides some information on the activities of the Joint Legislative Committee on Access to Healthcare and Medicaid Expansion through their March 29th meeting. And that March 29th meeting was dedicated fully to a discussion of APRN full practice authority. That committee also met 2 additional times. Their April 11th meeting included presentations on Certificate of Need laws, Healthy North Carolina 2030, which is a set of health indicators with 10-year targets designed to guide efforts to improve health in North Carolina. Information on the family physician shortage in North Carolina was also shared during that meeting. The April 26th meeting of the committee included a focus on telehealth, proposed telehealth legislation, presentations on a Medicaid voucher solution, and state-based marketplaces. It's anticipated that this committee will continue meeting when the short session resumes. The committee members did not discuss or vote on any specific piece of proposed legislation during the meetings it had during the past few months. However, the committee may submit proposed legislation for consideration by the General Assembly during the short session. So we will definitely continue to monitor the activities of this committee very closely for implications for nursing and the work of the Board of Nursing. Regarding the Joint Legislative Administrative Procedure Oversight Committee, they have met 2 times during the past few months. Their first meeting was in March, and it actually included a draft proposal for some clarifying changes related to legislation that passed in the 2019-2020 legislative session regarding occupational licensing board reporting of military and military spouse occupational licensure. After that original legislation passed, This committee found that the annual reports that boards were submitting didn't quite cover the information that the legislature wanted in that information when it was reported. So this proposed language was discussed by the committee members, and I believe that it will be included in the final report that they submit to the General Assembly. However, the April 4th draft committee report from this committee did not include those proposed changes. So we will continue to monitor the activities of this committee in general, but specific to any changes that they make to our requirements for reporting of military and military spouse occupational licensures, so that we make sure that we remain in compliance with our requirements for reporting. Legislative discussions and activities related to the SAVE Act remain the primary focus of our monitoring for the short session. The discussion and activity related to advanced practice registered nurse full practice authority has greatly increased in recent months, and it has also received more media attention this session than in previous sessions. And the potential for a vote on full practice authority legislation remains on the table during the short session. The SAVE Act remains viable on its own for consideration during the short session, or if legislators through the Access to Healthcare and Medicaid Expansion Committee, or through another means, if they decide to have legislation for consideration on a broad variety of healthcare topics, the SAVE Act is viable for inclusion in any of those types of proposals. And so we will definitely continue to monitor the activity and discussions surrounding potential changes to the regulation of advanced practice nurses in North Carolina. Now, lastly, as a follow-up to the information I provided to board members during your April Education Summit regarding the federal legislation related to SANE nurses, Board of Nursing staff have written an article for inclusion in the bulletin to help disseminate information about that federal legislation, including the appropriation of federal funds for SANE training program grants. The article that we're writing, it includes a summary of the federal legislation and also information from the Board of Nursing related to the board's application process and the requirements for SANE training programs in North Carolina. The article could include contact information, so anyone who is interested and needs additional information or guidance about requirements or the process, they will know, who they can contact at the Board of Nursing to get that information. So this concludes my legislative update. Please feel free to contact me if you have questions about any information I've shared in this report or additional pending legislation during the short session. Thank you so much.
Okay, Sara. Okay, Dr. Sara Griffith will present the strategic plan updates.
Morning, everybody. Nice and cold in here.
Oh, we can turn it
No.
down now since.
I do when I'm
or
presenting
up.
because I get all warm and fuzzy. And need the temperature a little bit lower. Well, thank you, and happy to be here to present our strategic plan. This is the first update on the strategic plan since it was approved by the board in January of this year. Board staff are using a platform called Achieve It to enter in all of our information. There are 3 staff members that are referred to. Am I not talking loud enough? All right, I'll keep going. We have 3 staff members that we refer to as Achieve It champions, and those are Angela Ellis, Angie Mathis, and myself. And we manage the platform, we input the data, we request updates, and then we pull together the reports for board meetings. After the plan was approved, we worked to identify targets for each of the objectives, and you'll notice that not all of the objectives have targets, but we have a plan in place moving forward to develop those targets. And one of those plans is the development of a strategic plan team. So we want to integrate all staff members to have that opportunity to give ideas about what should be included in the strategic plan. So not only the leadership providing input. We want the staff who are doing a lot of the work to be able to provide that input as well into the strategic plan. On the first page of the report, you see the entire strategic plan. So our initiatives, our objectives, and it's inclusive of our mission, vision, and value statements as well. Since this report looks a little different than the last report from the January board meeting, I wanted to provide some details on the information on this report. So the report is color-coded for all those visual people. So each of the strategic initiatives are highlighted across the report, which align to the flyer that was approved at the January board meeting as well. So the first initiative here is in purple. At the top of the first page, you will see 4 columns. They are level, item, status, and last comment. And in that first column, you have strategic initiative, which is the highest level, then objective, and then down to the target, which is the work that we're doing. As we're going through the plan, you may see some of the status updates such as on track, off track, or at risk. The status could be achieved, or not started. And none of those should be determined as negative in tone, because we want staff to be able to honestly say, hey, I'm off track and I need help with getting this project accomplished. So on the first page of the strategic plan, number 1, the first target is to develop, review, revise all regulatory policies and procedures to ensure alignment with laws and rules. And as you can see, this has not started, but we do have a plan in place for Angela Ellis and Chandra Graves to start working on the revision of our internal policies. So more to come on that information. On the bottom of the last target on the page is the periodic review and revisions of the sanctioning protocols. And if you recall, at the January board meeting, you approved 9 different protocols for board staff to utilize to make our work more efficient. And we had multiple staff members from multiple departments working on those protocols. On the second page, the first objective is to promote legislative change that advances public protection through exemplary nursing care. And as you heard in Dr. Catherine Moore's update, she provided the main points of the update in the plan here. The second objective is to provide adequate resources to fund programs, services, and operations through maintaining a strong financial position. And I will leave all those details to Gail Bellamy to provide that information. The last objective on this page is to increase visibility and impact of the organization. And this is related to our website redesign. We do feel that this project is on track. We have reviewed all the content, all staff has reviewed all the content on the website and made recommendations for edits, revisions, moving things on the website, et cetera. And we're starting to work with the website redesign team, which is composed of Angela Ellis, Brad Gibson, Travis Fish, Matthew Quick as the newest team member, and myself. On the third page of the report, the first and second line, you can see that there's ongoing work related to our logo rebranding. We're very excited. We're getting closer to a new logo for the organization, and hopefully we'll have an update for you at the September board meeting. So then on the third page, around the middle of the page, you'll see the blue highlighted section. So that's your next strategic initiative. The target review, revise, and start rulemaking process for education rules based on NCSBN model action rules is ongoing. Dr. Jennifer Lewis, Terry Ward, and Tanya Bodie are working diligently on preparing those rules, and will be coming to the Education and Practice Committee in August for your consideration and review on those. So more to come on that target as well. On the fourth page, you will see the third initiative, kind of describe that as like a rustic red color. Dr. Tillman, as she previously talked about, has organized lunch and learns to focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we had our first event with Dr. Bridget Carter speaking to board members and staff in April. The other target that I would like to discuss is have board representation on the Fayetteville State University Advisory Committee for SANE programs. And as Dr. Moore discussed related to the SANE programs in North Carolina, really ramping up and increasing the knowledge of how you develop a SANE program, what is involved in that, and providing consultation. Joyce Winstead will be working with Fayetteville State University on the development of that program. On the last page of the report, which is strategic initiative number 4, it's highlighted in green. The target I will address is related to processing of licenses, and Dr. Tillman talked about that a little bit earlier as well. This has been a hot topic in the media, lots of reports of long waits for licenses to be issued. I will say here in North Carolina for a license to be issued, once we get all the information in from the applicant, it takes us about 2 to 3 days for that initial application. For renewals, they're almost immediate unless the licensee indicates yes on the application, which may trigger some type of internal review. All right, the last thing that I have is a document that was created by Angie Mathis, our Director of Investigations, and I'll highlight some of the key points in this document. So the first pie chart talks about the nursing population in North Carolina. And on this, about 87% of our nursing population are registered nurses. There has been a steady increase in RNs and LPNs across North Carolina, but there is a slight growth for LPNs. It's not growing as fast as the RN population. The second pie chart at the bottom of the form is representative of the APRN population in North Carolina, and each of the APRN roles saw an increase. However, the CRNAs actually saw a slight decrease in 2021. So we'll be monitoring these trends and report back to you at our next update. That is the update that I have on the strategic plan, and I look forward to any comments or questions or feedback that you would have on the strategic plan.
I just want to commend you all for an excellent presentation of the documents to help us process and kind of clearly see where we are on the strategic plan. So I commend you for that, because I also know you have to go into the system, achieve it, and then log your progress where you're on track. So thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next is practice resources, and that's Joyce Winstead.
Okay, so good morning, and I am so excited to share with you information about about the Board of Nursing Practice Resources. And nursing practice is one of the components that comprise nursing regulation. And the Board of Nursing Practice Department serves an important role in providing information, clarification, and interpretation of the nurse's scope of practice as it's defined by the Nursing Practice Act and rules. Get my mouse working here. Okay, there, and enhancing the nurse's understanding of their scope of practice helps them to practice more safely, more competently, more confidently, and within compliance with that nursing law and rules. The practice department provides information, regulatory information across the state of North Carolina. And we provide that to registered nurses, to LPNs, to nurse leaders such as nursing directors, nurse managers, nurse administrators, to non-nurse leaders, non-nurse administrators, non-nurse leaders, also to nursing education programs, faculty, students, and sometimes to the general public. And the Board of Nursing website is a wellspring of resources for practice. So what I'd like to attempt to do now is to toggle off and go to the website so I can show you how to navigate to find these practice resources. Nope, not where I wanted to go. Okay. All right, very good. So the practice tab at the top. So when you hover over that, you can see a drop-down box. If you clicked on it, it would provide you to the overview landing page, and it would be a brief overview. There are links to each of those sections on that landing page. With the next two sections, the registered nurse and the LPN, if you clicked on those would also take you to a landing page that would provide you information about the RN scope of practice, the LPN scope, and within that, it also provides links to the Nursing Practice Act and the administrative rules. So this is the registered nurse, a link to the Nursing Practice Act and the administrative rule or code that defines that scope of practice. The same is true with the LPN landing page. And the legal scope of practice for both the registered nurse and the LPN include components for nursing delegation to unlicensed assistive personnel, or UAP. And some of the well-known titles of UAP that nurses frequently delegate to are nursing assistants, nursing assistant 1, nursing assistant 2, and medication aides. So in our practice tab, our next category is nursing assistants. And this provides information about nursing assistants, the rules, also the Nurse Aid 1 task list. A great resource. The NA2 task list. And the Board of Nursing approves Nurse Aid 2 programs and oversees the development of that training program curriculum as well. This is the Nurse Aid 2 task. Great resource. And then we have in North Carolina what is called an NA1+4. So this provides information about that NA1+4 process. And then we have the Nurse Aid 2 program guidelines. And then we have the Nurse Aid 2 teaching modules. So again, all this information is available to the public on the website, which is a great resource. The next category is medication aids, and the Board of Nursing approves medication aid faculty and oversees the curriculum and training standards. And so on the landing page, there's information about the rules that apply to medication aids. There's also the criteria for becoming a medication aid and being listed on the medication aid registry. And then we have a listing of medication aid teachers and instructors, the master teachers and the instructors. Now, when you click on that, some's going to be a short list. It is not all inclusive of the master teachers or instructors, but it's more ones that have requested to be listed on the website. And then our next category is the sexual assault nurse examiners, or SANE. And this provides the law and rules that pertain to SANE nurses in North Carolina. And we also, so the Board of Nursing approves the SANE programs in North Carolina. And we have a listing of the approved SANE programs under program listing. And you can see we include not only a list, but it also includes the contact information for the program. And this is so that the public, nurses that are interested and obtaining the same program can go and look at the approved programs and select the one that best meets their needs or what they're interested in. And then also we have the same FAQ. The next category that I'd like to talk about is a little bit at the bottom. It's position statements and decision trees. And this provides just a wealth of information. We have 2 decision trees. The first one is the decision tree for delegation to UAP. And this provides guidance for the nurse in determining whether an activity would be appropriate to delegate to an unlicensed person. And you can see it walks like an algorithm with a question, and the answer is either yes or no. The second decision tree is the scope of practice decision tree for the registered nurse and LPN. And this is used to determine whether a specific activity would be within the registered nurse and or LPN scope of practice. And it also walks like an algorithm with a series of questions, yes or no. And as you get midway down, you can see that it kind of branches off into RN, is the nurse and RN, is the nurse and LPN. And then it kind of takes it through 2 separate branches there. So both of these decision trees are for use by the employers, the nurse leaders, and the individual nurse. So great resource. And then we have the position statements. And the position statements serve to provide guidance for nurses seeking to engage in that safe nursing practice. And it addresses specific topics. Each position statement provides both the RN and the LPN scope of practice. And in some position statements, the topic or discussion may not be within the LPN scope. And if that's the case, that is indicated in the position statement. So it does provide both those components. The position statements are typically developed by board staff or through the education and practice committee work. And they're typically developed based on emerging trends in nursing practice, based on frequently occurring or reoccurring practice questions that we may receive at the board, and also the development of new practice standards. The position statements are reviewed and approved by the full board. So as you can see, we have a variety of topics here. And for example, so accepting an assignment is the very first one. And as you can imagine, that's a pretty popular position statement. And when we click on that, we see that it begins with the issue. Sometimes that may be background or issue, but it provides some information to help define what is being discussed. And in this position statement, we see that the section contains both the RN and LPN roles together. And then at the end of the position statement, there are references that were used to help develop that position statement, and the references have links to those documents. Another position statement, just to show you a little bit of difference, is delegation and assignment of nursing activities. And again, this one begins with issue. And then as it has some definitions, then we scroll down, it has the registered nurse's role. Then we have the LPN role. And this one actually has information about the UAP role. And then of course it does provide more information about other types of delegation. And again, it has the references with the links to those documents. So currently we have 2 decision trees, and we have 36 position statements. We then have 4 joint statements. And these are statements that are developed with collaboration with another entity. So for example, developed with the North Carolina Office of Emergency Medical Services. An example of one of the joint statements, the medication management of pain and end-of-life care, is a statement that was developed in collaboration of the Board of Nursing with the Board of Medicine with the Board of Pharmacy. So that's a great example of all three boards having input into one statement. And that's also a statement that they have on their websites as well. And then our next category is the frequently asked questions. And so we have a listing of questions that we frequently or commonly receive at the Board of Nursing. And it also provides a very brief, concise answer to the question. Currently, we have 16 frequently asked questions. And so, for example, I'm going to pull up 13. Can a nurse be supervised by an unlicensed person or another discipline? So clicking on that automatically takes me to the question with that brief, concise answer. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears a little bit and we're going to talk about the regulatory continuing education presentations and workshops that we provide, as Crystal was talking about earlier. So to navigate the website, one of the ways, you know, sometimes it's more than one way to skin a cat, and that is the way we can navigate our website as well. One of the ways that I like to go there is to go to the homepage and scroll down to the continuing education offerings. And so with these regulatory workshops, they are provided to help assist with the clarification, the understanding, and the application of that nurse's scope of practice, again, as it is defined by the Nursing Practice Act and rules. So to look at the presentations that we're currently offering, you would actually go to the far left-hand side, request a Board of Nursing speaker. And there's information about that. Then we have the speaker request form. And this is the form that the organization or the individual would complete and submit to the Board of Nursing to request that presentation. And as we scroll on down, this is a list of our current presentations that we provide. There are 8 presentations. They are continuing competence, legal scope of practice, delegation responsibilities of the nurse, understanding the scope of practice and role of the LPN, nursing regulation in North Carolina, prevention of documentation and medication errors, introduction to just culture and the complaint evaluation tool, which is a 1.5 credit hour that goes into detail about the complaint evaluation tool and use, and then introduction to the Board of Nursing complaint evaluation tool. And with all of these presentations, they're being provided that contact credit, that continuing nursing education credit. And as Crystal was saying, prior to COVID, most of these presentations, the majority were provided face-to-face on-site at the location. But when COVID came, everything went virtual, and things worked out really well. It's working well for us. It's working well for the organizations. Now, you know, there are situations and there are organizations that may prefer to have that face-to-face, and we certainly recognize that, you know, nurses have diverse learning needs. So as we're coming out of COVID, can I say that okay? As we're kind of coming out of COVID, you know, and looking forward, we're hoping to provide these presentations in an either-or format, either face-to-face or virtual. And really, it would be at the request of that organization, and again, depending on their needs. And as Crystal said, we do request that they have a minimum of 25% participants, and that, of course, is to help justify the staff's time, because it does involve multiple staff in providing the background work as well as the presentations themselves. And then some other continuing education information that we have is the board-sponsored workshop and board-sponsored offering, and then on-site workshops. And if we scroll down a little bit more, we come to the on-site workshop. This is a orientation workshop that the board offers for nurse leaders, nurse managers, nurse administrators, nursing directors, or those mid-level nurse managers. And this workshop provides information, regulatory information that's pertinent to their role and responsibilities as that nurse leader. Now, typically it's relatively new nurse leaders that come to this, or it could be nurse leaders that may have been a nurse leader for some time, but never really got this information. And we've even had nurse leaders come back that attended the workshop years ago, but wanted to come back for a refresher. And this workshop actually began in 1990, in the 1990s, and has continued to the present day. And we offer it 4 times a year. It is provides 4.5 credit hours. And let me tell you the title, it's a little bit lengthy. The title is Orientation Sessions for Administrators of Nursing Services and Mid-Level Nurse Managers. And so that is actually the title that it was given back in the 1990s. So I don't know, maybe we should look at revising that. I don't know, but that's the title. And so this is an agenda for the workshop. And you can see it's just an overview of some of the information, and I'll just touch on some regulatory trends, the RN, LPN scope of practice, delegation, the complaint evaluation tool, helpful hints for performing investigations, complaints and investigation process, and alternative program and chemical dependency program. So again, that's information that's available for the public, for everyone to see. For the rest of 2022, we have 2 workshops scheduled. The next one will be September 13th, and that will actually be an in-person workshop. And this is the first one that we've had in person since February of 2020. Yeah, so we're really looking forward to that. And then the last workshop for 2022 that's scheduled is October 4th, and that will be a virtual workshop. You all are welcome to attend this workshop. If you're interested in attending either of the 2 for this year or interested in attending one for next year, once we get the dates established, please reach out to me and let me know so that we can get you into that. Another practice resource that, and Crystal mentioned that in talking about just culture, is the complaint evaluation tool. Now, this one's located over under Discipline and Compliance, Employer Complaint, and then Complaint Evaluation Tool. And the practice director and practice consultant provide consultation to the nurse leaders regarding nursing practice errors or incidents. So the nursing practice error or incident would occur, the nurse leaders would investigate that incident. Using the complaint evaluation tool, they would then determine the scoring of that. And anytime the scoring would fall in that yellow at-risk category, and that's at-risk behavior for patient safety, then they would contact the Board of Nursing. And that's when the scoring is either 3 or more in the yellow category, or a criteria scoring of 7 to 15. And so we would provide that consultative service with them. We discuss the incident, what occurred. We would help them walk through the complaint evaluation tool to determine that criteria. And then we would make the decision or determination of whether that nurse would need counseling, remediation, and or reporting to the Board of Nursing. And the feedback that we received from the nurse leaders that use the tool really sing its praises. They really appreciate having the tool. Now, the tool's not mandated for them to use. It is at their discretion to use it, at their choice to use it. But we do have that available for them to use and have had it available since 2012. So as Crystal was saying, the Board of Nursing in North Carolina is really at the forefront of nursing practice. The other resources related to the complaint evaluation tool is the abbreviated complaint evaluation tool instructions. And this is just a brief kind of cliff note instructions of how to use the tool, because we recognize a lot of nurse leaders, nurse managers, and directors are not going to have time to sit down, read that booklet, and figure out how to use it. So this is just a brief instructions on how to use the complaint evaluation tool. Another resource that the Board of Nursing provides is the instruction booklet, Just Culture and Nursing Regulation. And this is the booklet that does provide more in depth about just culture and use of the complaint evaluation tool and the investigative process. And this actually provides 1 hour of continuing nursing education credit. And so lastly, the most valuable practice resources that we have is the practice department staff. And so myself as director, Stacey Thompson, practice consultant, and Paulette Hampton. And Paulette, you're short. You may need to stand up.
I don't think it'll help.
The practice coordinator. And the practice department receives a lot of practice calls and emails from people across the state. It can be from nurses, all levels of nursing licensure. It's from unlicensed assistant personnel. It's from non-nurse people. It's from nurse leaders. It's from non-nurse leaders. And sometimes it's from the general public. Sometimes it's the patient. Sometimes it's the patient family. So we can receive those calls really from anywhere or anyone. An example, and this is just a typical type of call that we may receive, just to give you an idea. So an example of a call may be from a nursing assistant 1 that's calling because she's concerned that the nurse is asking her to do a task that's not within her scope of practice. Another example of a call that we may receive would be from the chief nursing officer of a hospital system that is seeking consultation about implementing a new nursing services delivery care model and making sure that they have all of the scopes of practice right. So just some common examples. You know, it's almost like walking into a triage unit because you never know what you'll get that day. It's always a variety, which makes it very exciting. And so I hope that this presentation has provided you some helpful information about the practice resources at the Board of Nursing. And I think it's just a wellspring of resources that are there for the public to have, not only the public, nurses, nurse leaders, but the public in general as well. And so do you all have any questions that you'd like to ask?
I would like to say, I was on a forum for the AHAC, and I was asked to speak on the scope of practice. I mean, you read it, but Miss Joyce assisted me and get my information together, and she had all of this information. And I really appreciate it. I thank you so much.
Oh,
So much. So if you have any questions or need some information, there you go.
Stacy last week.
thank you. Well, and I get so excited. Crystal put me on a time frame, so I can't get too excited until everything. But it really is exciting stuff. And, that's what we do and we enjoy doing it. So, if you do have questions or if we can be of assistance, definitely feel free to reach out to us. And thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to take a 10-minute break. So we'll be back at 11.
Yeah.
Yes, the finance, yes.
Yes.
Our day.
Yes.
So I would
I'd like to recognize the committee chair, Tom Minowitz, and to recognize the staff liaison, Gail Bellamy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to recognize the members of the committee, which include myself, Lynetta Howard, Anne Marie Milner, Chester Farley, and Crystal Tillman, CEO, of course. So the Finance Committee met on April the 13th, 2022, and a little summary of the activities are as follows. We went over the third quarter financial statements. The committee reviewed the statement of net position and statement of revenue, expenditures, and change in net position. The board maintained a strong financial position through the third quarter of the fiscal year. There was some loss of value of the investment portfolio, which will be discussed during the investment report by Wes and Jessica. The statement of net position summarizes the financial position as of March 31st, 2022, and an increased $323,430 since June 30th of 2021. Assets totaled approximately $27.1 million. Liabilities totaled approximately $9.7 million, resulting in a net position of $17.4 million. Of the net position, investment in capital assets less depreciation totaled $5.8 million. Unrestricted net assets totaled $11.6 million, of which $8.5 million is designated for future projects. Any questions so far? No? No in-depth discussion? Okay. The statement of revenue, expenditures, and changes in net assets, the operating and non-operating revenue was $7.8 million. Expenditures totaled $7.5 million, and the resultant increase in net position was $323,430. Now for Gail, do you have anything to add to that? Or Hema? I did tell Hema we were going to have her go through the budget line by line and go over every single number. She didn't like that.
That was our little secret.
So as a next on our agenda, we're going to talk about the review of investments. So I'd like to recognize Wes Thomas and Jessica Christie from Wells Fargo Advisors to present market analysis and investment performance report. And I believe Wes is on the phone.
He should be.
Should be on the phone.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wes. You and Jessica have the floor.
Okay. Well, I'll start for just a second here and then I'll let Wes go. But thank you. It's great to see everyone in person again for the first time in a little while. So thank you for having us today. I'll go through just an overview of the holdings and the performance, and then let Wes talk a little bit more about the markets. So first off, with the board's portfolio, the stock account currently makes up just under 35%, 34.8% of the board's portfolio. 61% of it is in a large cap equity manager, 20% in a small mid, and 19% in an international equity manager. And then the rest, about 65%, 65.2%, is in bonds and CDs. So most of it is in those bonds and CDs and safer investments. But let's talk about a little bit of the performance. This is all through the end of March. So through the end of March, the stock account was down about 5.2%. I'm sure not a big surprise to anyone there. The bond account was also down as well. Bonds have struggled this year. Wes will talk a little bit about that. But the bond account down 4.2% through the end of March. Okay. When we look at the whole portfolio, it was down about 4.5% through the end of March. Okay. And I like to give some comparison numbers for those as well. The S&P 500 through the end of March was down about 4.6%. The Dow Jones was down about 4.1%. The US Ag, that bond index, is actually down 5.9% in that time frame. Okay. So I will pause there, see if there are any questions before Wes goes through a little bit more details on the markets themselves. Okay. Well, Wes, it's up to you then.
Okay, well, I'll try to be quick because I know there's been a lot going on there today, but there's also a lot going on in the markets. So I'm gonna start with some bad news and then finish with some more positive news. As y'all probably know, we've had a very difficult start to the year. The S&P 500 down year to date this year about 18%. The NASDAQ index down about 27%. And the Barclays aggregate bond index down about 9.8%. And so really there's not been a place to hide in the markets, whether it's bonds or stock. Both have struggled this year. Bonds because interest rates have gone up rapidly to try to ward off inflation, and that's caused bond prices to come down. There's an inverse relationship there. But really, what the market has struggled with this year is inflation. So the war in Ukraine, combined with the lockdowns in China from COVID, have caused a perfect storm of inflation. And this has caused rates to go up. The Federal Reserve is raising rates and has caused the market to recalibrate where investors think stocks should be valued. We are expecting, as a firm, Wells Fargo is now expecting, they've shifted recently, and now we are expecting a mild recession sometime at the end of this year, or in the first 2 quarters of next year. So this has been a shift. We've been expecting growth to slow, but just recently have shifted our forecast for a mild recession. We are expecting GDP to finish this year somewhere around 1.5% growth, but in 2023, actually a negative growth rate of somewhere around 0.5%. So really, the recession that we are expecting, is not right at our doorstep, but is out there toward the end of the year or in the first couple quarters of next year. We do expect the Federal Reserve to continue to raise interest rates this year. The federal funds rate is somewhere around 1% today, and we think it's going to rise somewhere close to 2.5% to 2.75% by the end of the year. And with that, it's been telegraphed that this month and next month that the Federal Reserve would raise rates. I say this month, in June and July, another 50 basis point increase in both of those months. So that's the bad news, is that the Federal Reserve is raising rates to try to bring down inflation, and it's a race to see, will inflation come down first, or is growth going to slow? And which will come first? And so surely growth is going to slow some, but hopefully inflation numbers come down, and inflation is the real problem here. So for things to improve, we need to see inflation to come down. And the thing we will be watching is does the situation in China improve, where factories open up again and increase supply? And the other thing we'll be watching is, how does the war in Ukraine shape up, and is there a light at the end of the tunnel where there would be some sort of ceasefire agreement? Both of those are greatly weighing on inflation, and for us to have some significant improvement, we need to see some progress in either of those two areas. Now for the good news. The good news is that if we are expecting a mild recession, markets are already pricing this in. And so we do, you know, as I said, the S&P down 18% year to date, that's pricing in a mild recession. Our targets for the markets are 10% higher from where we are now by the end of the year. So I would just encourage everyone to think like investors that I admire, one of which is Warren Buffett, and he's perhaps the greatest investor of our time and our era. Warren Buffett has been spending money in the first 2 quarters of this year, tens of billions of dollars, making acquisitions, buying stock, and one of his famous quotes is to be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. So yes, there's bad news about the economy, but that's caused valuations to come down where stocks are really at a reasonable level for long-term investors. And we as the Board of Nursing is really a long-term investor with its funds. We do think things will eventually recover. We are conservatively positioned for this potential downturn and in the economy, and I think we will weather it. We will weather it well. But I think we all need to be patient and mentally prepared that it's going to be a difficult year. And so we will stay vigilant, and we will stay diversified and balanced, and continue to do the best that we can under difficult circumstances. But I will pause there and just see if anyone has any questions about the outlook.
Doesn't look like it.
No questions.
We just don't have any targets up to. They tanked.
They had a rough day yesterday. Yes.
Yeah,
One thing I want to
I hope
mention on the West.
Sorry, Gail. I hope my outlook hasn't put everyone in a sober mood.
No, which is why I'm gonna try to leave everybody on a positive note. As you said, let's try to pull some positive out of this. But if you look on your statement of revenue and expenditures, and while you do see that, and this is through the third quarter, we do see that our change in that position is not kind of in that ballpark that we're used to seeing. But if you look up just above where we're talking about operating income, one thing about the investment income, we do have to report it because it reflects the value, the financial position of the organization. But if you look at the operating revenue, that's our fees, the funds that we collect to support the business, that number is up. So you can see, if you compare same period, March 31st, 2021, just looking at the operating income was about 461,000 net, but 3/31/2022, 793,674 net. So we're still funding the operations, and we use the change in the investments to balance the budget, but I can't tell you the last time we've had to draw from our investment funds to support the organization. So that's the positive. We are generating the income to support the organization. But because of the pesky accounting principles, we do have to show loss of value to the fund.
Anybody have questions for Wes or Jessica? Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
I don't have to yell. You can
Thank
just-
you.
Okay, on agenda M12, which is the fiscal planning and budgets, one of the things I think it's important for everybody to understand is, as a committee, it's not just simply a rubber stamp approval. When we met on the 13th, Gail and Crystal came to us and talked about the budget and gave us the budget. And then when we looked at it, we went back and we asked them, hey, can you guys go back and look at some things? We think there's wiggle room in some areas so that we can do some different things. And so they did. They took that information, they went back, dug into it again, and came back probably 10 days, 2 weeks later, something like that. And we met again to talk about it. And I think it was satisfactory to everybody at that point. So it's not simply a rubber stamp approval. Hey, this is what they said, so let's go ahead and do it. So with that being said, we did review the proposed budget for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. The committee recommends a balanced budget with revenue and expenditures totaling $11,197,799, which is a 5% increase in the budget over the current year budget. We don't vote on it yet, do we? Well, some of the revenue highlights, renewal revenue is projected to increase 3.1% over our current year budget. Renewal revenue has shown a steady increase over the past 10 plus years and represents revenue recognized from over 149,000 licensees. Other primary revenue sources, exam and endorsements, is projected to increase next year as well. Revenue from the nurse aid applicator is declining as the number of initial listings and renewals continues to decrease. The APRN revenue is projected to increase over the current year. The budget assumes 5,700 approvals to practice and 12,500 renewals compared to 4,760 approvals to practice and 10,200 renewals estimated in the current year. On the expenditure side, the budget continues to support innovations in nursing regulation through research projects, organizational developments and succession planning, and through continued investment in technology to provide better system performance, greater access to information by nurses, and the public and security of data. The Finance Committee reviewed and discussed the long-range impact of this budget on the financial position. Assuming the board's current business model remains intact, the financial position will remain strong in the foreseeable future. The recommendation is the board approve the budget, the proposed budget for the fiscal year July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
So this is a committee recommendation, so we don't need a second. So I'm going to call for a vote. So all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Okay. For agenda M13, the designation of funds, the following designation of funds is requested. IT operations of $523,734. Designated funds are being allocated for regular upgrades of NCBON's network, security, disaster recovery, and business continuity systems to ensure 100% availability and state-of-the-art data protection. In addition, periodic third-party evaluations are necessary, so NCBON systems are reviewed, tested, and evaluated to ensure the highest quality systems and best practices are employed. The following are planned projects over the next 2 to 3 years. Upgrades and enhancements to the AV system throughout the office, enhanced cybersecurity and disaster planning, enhancements to online licensing system, and upgrades to hardware infrastructure. On the research side, $303,530, which is the APRN workforce study based on the success and the public interest to the NC Nurse Cast RN LPN workforce study. Funds are allocated to conduct a similar study for North Carolina APRN workforce, and a capital asset improvements of $212,582, which is a building reserve fund, is an important component for preservation and protection of the value of assets. The designation will continue to build a reserve fund to cover the costs associated with maintaining NCBON's property over the long term and to replace assets as they become obsolete. The recommendation is that the board designate $1,039,846 of unrestricted net assets for future funding needs as reported.
Okay, so this is a committee recommendation, so we don't need a second. So we're going to call for a vote. Just raise your hand if you approve. Okay, unanimous. Okay, thank you.
That's all I have, Madam Chair.
That's it.
Unless y'all have questions for Gail or him.
What effect have we seen with the rising inflation as far as our budget, just, office supplies, heating, air conditioning, all those kind of things? What kind of an increase have we seen?
One thing we've seen immediately is the cost of travel, airfare, hotel expense, and those are built into this budget because those are things as more meetings are being held in person. We're just seeing numbers, like I said, for airfares that we've just not seen before. But both in our current budget and the one we're projecting, we built that in because we planned with next year that almost 100% of conferences, meetings will be in person. Very optimistic that meetings will be in person. So yes, we have seen upticks in services that are that. Yes.
That's part of what we had them go back and look at. I think it was just right before that, the latest number for inflation had come out. So we said, hey, can you go back and look at some things and let's make sure that we're accounting for that.
Yes, 8% as of the end of April. We're seeing it. Yeah, 8 point, might be 8.7, but the last number I looked was about 8.4%.
Is there any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you. So now we're going to move on to the education program activity, and I would like to introduce Dr. Terry Ward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am presenting to you today 2 programs for initial approval for new programs, and I'm going to begin with Galen College, and they're connected with us virtually. Galen College of Nursing applied to establish a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing program submitted by Dr. Audra Denker, Executive Vice President of Nursing. The application was received in the Board of Nursing office in August of 2021 and included information to support the establishment of a Bachelor of Science in Nursing program, an Associate's degree in Nursing program, and an LPN to Associate degree bridge program option. The BSN program will require 160 quarter credits. The ADN program will require 107 quarter credits. The LPN, LPN, ADN bridge program option will require 99 quarter credits. The application demonstrates evidence of the proposed student population, projected student enrollment, evidence of learning resources to implement and maintain the program, and financial resources adequate to begin and maintain the program. The current physical facilities are adequate to support the program needs for both students and faculty and will be physically located in Asheville, North Carolina. Written indications from the nurse executive or designees from each of the agencies that the clinical resources will be available for utilization by the proposed program were included in the application. An initial survey was conducted April 11, 2022, and there were no recommendations as a result of the survey. The recommendation for board action is that Galen College of Nursing be granted initial approval for a Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree program with approval for a maximum total enrollment of 80 students in the Associate Degree Nursing program and LPN to RN Bridge program, and with the approval of a maximum enrollment of 120 students in the BSN program to begin in August or fall of 2022.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion, any questions about this?
Madam Chair, I have just a few questions for clarity. So there's a BSN and an ADN and an LPN/LDN to
And a
ADN
bridge. Yes, ma'am.
to ADN and not BSN.
LPN to ADN, yes.
Okay. My other question is, I read something about support services from a community college. I was just seeking clarity on what that means. I thought I read something about that they would receive support services for admissions, financial, and secretarial aspects of the program from a southeastern community college.
That is an error in the report.
My last question, Dr. Ward, is there's they're proposing 80 BSN students and then 120 for the LPN component. Is that correct?
Yep, that is 80 for the BSN students and 120 for the associate degree and LPNs are combined.
And so 9 full-time faculty across those programs in that option?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
So my question is, I thought I read something about the amount of faculty, the number of faculty that they would have. So it's 9 full-time faculty, and then the rest are part-time. And so my question is in regard to, are those 9 full-time faculty across the 2 programs and the bridge option? Or is that 9 full-time for just one of those programs for the option?
I'm trying to see where you're reading from. Yes, that is for the beginning and the start of their program in the fall. Yes,
For BSN?
yes.
I have no further questions.
Any other questions? Any other? No? Okay. So I need to call for a motion. Do I have a motion to approve the staff's recommendation that Galen College of Nursing be granted initial approval of Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree program with approval for maximum of total enrollment of 80 students, associate degree nursing program with an LPN, LVN to RN bridge program option with approval for maximum total enrollment of 120 students to begin August, fall 2022. Okay, Andrea has made the motion. You'll second that? Diane has second motion. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Approval? Okay, unanimous decision. Great. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay. Dr. Ward, it's your turn again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to present to you Southeastern College in Charlotte, North Carolina. Ms. Barbara Lou is here representing Southeastern College. Southeastern College submitted an application to establish a practical nursing program prepared by Ms. Barbara Lou, Program Director. The application was received in the Board of Nursing office on October 12, 2021. Information to support the establishment of a traditional PM program was included. The proposed PM program will be a 3-semester, 1-year program. The Southeastern College PM program will require 45 to 5 nursing credit hours. The college proposes to admit a maximum total enrollment of 120 students. The proposed date for admission to the first class of the nursing program is fall 2022. Graduation of the first class is scheduled to occur in fall 2023. The proposed program will be physically located on the Southeastern College campus located in Charlotte, North Carolina. The application demonstrates evidence of the proposed student population, projected student enrollment, evidence of learning resources to implement and maintain the program, and financial resources adequate to begin and maintain the program. The current physical facilities are adequate to support the program needs for both students and faculty. Written indications from the nurse executive or designees from each of the agencies that the clinical resources will be available for utilization by the proposed program were included in the application. An initial site survey was conducted June 31st, 2022. There were no recommendations as a result of the survey. My recommended board action is Southeastern College be granted initial approval for a practical nursing degree program with an approval for a maximum total enrollment of 120 students to begin fall 2022.
Are there any questions or discussion? Yes. Arlene has a question too.
This may be out of place, but just want to know, the credentials, will they be able, once they graduate, will they be able to be employed like in a government facility? The credentials.
As an LP.
Does it help? No?
Yes, I know. Work.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
They should be no problems with, yeah. working.
Well, thank you for answering the question because I would have had to look into that.
And Raquel?
I have none. Thank you.
Oh.
I'm sorry. For clarification, Southeastern is a part of a college system and they have support services available through an existing program that's located in Florida and other entities. So that's where that statement belongs appropriately.
I have a question.
Sure.
I didn't answer it, but so just for all intents and purposes, with practical nursing degree programs, the intended degree or certification is LPN.
Correct.
Okay, is there anything else that will come in? Oh, of a practical nursing degree program? Like any other title or just LPN?
No, just LPN.
Is there any other question? Okay. All right, then I'm going to call for a motion. Do I have a motion to approve the staff's recommendation? The motion is Southeastern College will be granted initial approval for a practical nursing degree program with an approval for maximum total enrollment of 120 students to begin fall 2022. Okay. Amy made the motion to approve the recommendation. Do I have a second? Laura Bartlett. Thank you. Is there any other further discussion? Okay.
And we need to go back to M13 and recognize Jennifer Lewis.
Okay.
To talk about.
Okay. Okay, so I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
How did I skip that?
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I missed it. My fault. Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize. I missed the education practice summary of activities. So I'd like to recognize the committee chair, Dr. Raquel Ingram, and recognize the staff liaison, Dr. Jennifer Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Education and Practice Committee met on March 8th, 2022 to continue work on its current charge to review best practices for nursing education program regulation, the related laws and rules, and recommend any needed revisions to the Board of Nursing Education Rules and 21 NCAC 36, Section 300, approval of nursing programs to the board. The Education and Practice Committee has been engaged in this work since January of 2021, when the initial charge was undertaken. This report serves to highlight the activities only from the March 8th meeting, which included the Director of Education, myself, providing a detailed summative report to the committee, receiving information from the Chief Legal Officer on factors impacting rulemaking that the committee needs to undertake and be aware of, and we reviewed a lengthy document that detailed the current North Carolina Board of Nursing rules in comparison with the National Council of State Board of Nursing model rules for pre-licensure nursing education programs. In that conversation, the committee provided board staff with feedback and recommendations on suggested revisions to the current rules. Those revisions, are currently being reviewed by board staff, and draft proposed language will be forthcoming to the committee in August, and Dr. Griffith alluded to that earlier. At this point in time, there are no recommendations from the Education and Practice Committee. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Thank you, Dr. Ingram. So we are going to move on to the APRN. Dr. Griffith is going to sit in for Dr. Melanie Marvey.
Well, good morning. Today I am bringing you a position statement for APRN practice, and this is a discharging a patient from a practice. So our APRN consultant, Dr. Mabry, has received multiple calls from APRNs questioning, what do I do if I have a patient that the relationship is not therapeutic anymore, they're not following recommendations, how do I discharge this patient from the practice? So we felt it best to issue a position statement and have that readily available on our website for APRNs to access and to know that they had resources available from us and to support the decision to discharge a patient. So the recommendation is that the board approve the discharging a patient from APRN practice position statement and direct staff to make available on the North Carolina Board of Nursing website.
That's good. I read it all last night. It was a lot of stuff that's on there. Okay, is there any questions? Any discussion? No? Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the staff's recommendation that the board approve the discharging a patient from an APRN practice position statement and direct staff to make available on the NCBON website? Okay. Diane Layden. LaDonna Thomas. Any further discussion? No. Okay, I will call for a vote. Just show of hands if you approve. 100%. Great. Thank you so much. Okay. So now we're moving on to the election nominating committee. Okay, the composition of the nominating committee profile states 3 members must have at least 1 RN and 1 LPN. When nominating a member for the committee, please identify yourself prior to the nomination. So we will call for a motion. Or a name. Who's going to nominate? Somebody. Andrea? Okay. Andrea Jepson has been nominated as the LPN. Now we need a nomination for an RN. Oh, this is for the election for the committee. for the board, we vote for the board when they, that's what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not difficult. It's great. I mean, staff. really help. So, let's have a nomination. Right.
Where the
You guys are all eligible, all the RNs. Mhm. Okay. All right, and then now we need one more.
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Shakira.
No? Sure?
You don't want to say
Sure. You're shaking your head. Sure. If I can do it, you can do it, trust me. It's fine.
Just on the board.
Okay, so we have our nominees. Okay, so I'm going to call for a motion. Do I have a motion to accept Andrea Jepson, LaDonna Thomas, and Shakira Henderson as the 2022 nominating committee members? Yeah. Do I have a second?
Second.
Laura, okay. So now I'm going to call for a vote. Ready? All those in favor? Okay, no backing out now. All right. So we don't need anything from the executive session. So that is off. So we're at the adjournment
We are at the.
already?
Yes.
Okay.
Adjournment, and then we can go into our debrief.
Okay, we're at the, yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Show of hands. Thank you, unanimous, okay. Thank you, everybody. And I just wanted to say, this is my last board meeting, so I just want to say I have enjoyed working with all of you. And I mean, the staff make it so easy. It's just been wonderful. It's been a wonderful experience, and I tell everybody to try, because this is so great. But I appreciate all of you guys. So thank you.
Dr. Milner, thank you for your service for the
Thank you.
last few years. So
Thank you. This is a highlight